Blog Talk Radio.
Are you ready to take a bite out of the competition? Are you looking for ideas to make your business better? Welcome to the Core Business Show with Tim Jacquet, sponsored by Apple Capital Group. At the core of every successful business, you'll find people making a difference. And with each episode of the Core Business Show, we talk with those people, examine those ideas, and explore the strategies that make them special. Now, the host of the Core Business Show, Tim Jacquet.
Well, welcome to another episode of the Core Business Show. Tim Jacquet. Tonight we have our special guest is Edwin Hawkins, four-time Grammy Award winner. We're going to talk about his life, his ministry, and his music. If you have any questions, I invite you to call in. The number is 347-324-3460. Again, it's 347-324-3460. If you do call in, we ask you to turn down your radio. And on the keypad, just press 1 so we know you have a question. I see a lot of numbers in the queue, but if you do have a question, just press the number 1, and I know you have a question. Also, if you have a question, you can post it in the chat room or Twitter on hashtag Apple Capital Group, and I'll go ahead and read it on the air. Edwin Hawkins, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tim.
Great. I really appreciate your time. Wow, an institution, and your legacy is just amazing for well over 30 years. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us something a little bit different about Edwin Hawkins that the general public have never known?
Well, it's hard for me to guess what they've never known, but I don't know if they know that I am the 5th child of 8 children.
Wow.
My parents had 8 children. They wanted 4. Ended up with twice as many.
Wow.
We grew up in the projects, Campbell Village, Oakland, California. Mm-hmm. And that was my first home. My first recollection was the piano that was there when I came home from the hospital, where all the boys learned to play keyboard there on that old piano. We no longer have it. Mm-hmm. As soon as I was able, of course, I wanted a Steinway, so I bought a Steinway. And my parents were able to see the success of our first venture, which was something that we were not striving for. We weren't looking for a record deal as such. We, as a Hawkins family, sing at somebody's church almost every Sunday afternoon growing up.
Wow.
And, my father would drive us there. Sometimes he would sit out in the car and wait. He was not a Christian, but he supported everything that we did. He later became a Christian after Walter started his church. But we sang at someone's church every Sunday. And also did a broadcast on Sunday Night Live with a quartet called the Royal Four of Oakland, California. Mm-hmm. I don't know if people know that we did that. So as the years went on, my 2 older sisters got married, and it kind of destroyed the family group as such. And then Walter put back something together when on his return from the road, because he was there from the initial, with the Edwin Hawkins Singers. And when he was called to the ministry, he decided to come back home and dedicate some time in putting things together there. So in the meantime, my 2 sisters got back with him, and they did some singing around different clubs, actually, in the Bay Area. And they were called Salah. Mm-hmm. I don't know if some people might have that, because you can get it from YouTube probably. That was a thing where he had mentioned to us, I think on one of the last trips that he toured with the Edwin Hawkins Singers. I think we were in Amsterdam, where he shared that he had been called to the ministry and was going to go back home and start that.
Wow.
And so on my return, of course, we started that in our home. My parents were living then. And it just started with a prayer group, a prayer and Bible study on a Tuesday night every week. And as they went around to these different clubs to sing, they invited young people that they knew had kind of strayed away from the church and kind of rebelled, as I did, some of the very rigid and legalisms that the church put upon us as young people. And that is how Love Center started. He wanted to have a church where people could come, young people could come, and not feel condemned for being young.
Wow.
And that's sort of the way we were brought. I think with good intentions, I think the church just wanted to make sure that we were living the way we should live. But it was just a little bit more than we could deal with. Because everything was a sin. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure some people could relate to that. So the church, the Love Center, was the name that we chose. And it drew so many young people from around the Bay Area that had left the traditional church and felt the freedom to come and worship and Just an amazing ministry, one that saved my life because I was really on my way somewhere else, even though I was still singing the gospel.
Wow.
It really saved my life.
Wow, that's an amazing story. During your childhood, were you guys involved in the high school groups, or it just mainly you just focus on church groups?
Well, I'd sing in the high school choir, as Walter did, and there was even a special group that Walter sang in called the Castleiers at Castlemont High. Mm-hmm. So we did participate in musical programs growing up in school.
Did you play any other instruments besides piano, or it's...
My older brother did play guitar a bit, and he did some other things outside of gospel growing up, but the rest of us did all gospel.
Wow. I heard in another interview a few years ago, I think your brother was mentioning, Walter, that did you guys listen to, I think your dad listened to country music?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
We'd wake up every morning to country and western music. But in our home, we heard all kinds of music. My mother's brother, one of her younger brothers, was a professional jazz musician. Mm-hmm. And he'd often bring his band over, his whole band, and they would rehearse in the living room in the projects where we lived. Mm-hmm. We heard a lot of jazz. Then one of her younger sisters went to college while she lived with us, and she liked pop music, so we heard a lot of pop music. Wow. We heard a variety of kinds of music, and my mother, of course, bought almost every gospel artist at that time. So we heard everything. And so when we started to create, Walter and I and Daniel, we started to pull from all those different resources.
Wow, so it was just a mixture of just listening to other groups, and even the country western, combining it into a style to make it your very own. Because everybody always talk about the Hawkins sound, and we hear different stories on how it was created. I mean, it's just a God gift, but it's amazing just hearing all the influence that you guys from country western to jazz, and you still hear parts of that in your music today.
Well, I dare to say, I don't think that you would hear any country. That was the least of my favorite. I didn't like country and western. Now, contemporary country today, I can deal with that a bit. But back then, it was very, very traditional. Hank Williams, and I can't remember some of the names, but I didn't like it. And we wondered. I said, why is Daddy listening to that country music? He did. But, of course, I do know that I was influenced by the pop, jazz, R&B, and, of course, gospel.
It's really amazing just taking that one piece, Oh Happy Day, that if I listen to all the music during that contemporary time, this piece is so different. It crossed the lines. How did you come up with Oh Happy Day?
Through the hymn. It was an old hymn that was written in the, I think, mid or late 1700s, actually, in the hymn book. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I was not doing a lot of my own compositions. I did a few. But mostly I was taking older hymns and older songs that I'd heard and rearranging them, and Oh Happy Day was one of those.
Wow, and it's just the tune just came to you, and you just sat down the piano and just created it?
I did. It was really part of that is from the original melody. Mm-hmm. Then the rest of it I put together, yes. Okay.
And I know you mentioned, how did the choir come about? I think that first performed it. Is there something?
Choir?
Yeah, I think it was a choir. Was it a group?
It was a choir. In fact, it was a choir of about 46 voices. We had myself, along with Betty Watson, put together a choir to represent the church at that time, and it was made up of young people from around the Bay Area. Mm-hmm. And the intent was to go to a convention that was held in Washington, D.C. that coming year. And we did, and the first night was a competition among all the youth choirs that would come to that convention annually. Mm-hmm. And we came in second place, and on the return of home, we enjoyed singing together so much, we decided to stay together. So the following year, we did the recording, which was in 68, I think it was, and released in 69, on a 2-track machine at our church in Berkeley, California.
Wow.
Pastored by Tremaine's grandfather, Pastor Bishop E.E. Cleveland. And on that 2-track machine, and that was actually the track that went to underground rock radio first. Mm-hmm. And then the gospel DJ started to play it. But that's where it hit, amazingly. And we were not looking for a record deal at that time. It just was the way God planned it.
Wow. So that is still, that original recording is the same one from all those years?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And how did that, once they discover you, they just called you and say, hey, we just want you to do a recording, or how did that come out?
Well, at that time, record companies pursued you, possibly if they heard anything about you, and we were pursued. We probably had maybe over 16 different major labels at that time to call, wanting to pick that project up. And we decided to go with Buddha Records, which was a very brand new company at the time, and advice of some other people that were working with us. I knew absolutely nothing about the record business. All I knew was what my mother bought from record stores. But the music business, we were all young and naive and knew nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
So with the advice of some of the adults, we went with that particular company, and the rest is history, as they say.
Wow. I know you have a lot of compositions over the years, and I guess it would move forward to talk about your sound and the music that you create. How these things come to you? I mean, you have a lot of compositions over this span period. So as a composer, it just comes to you naturally, or you just wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you get to...
No, I was not one to write during the night.
Okay.
If it didn't happen while I was awake, it didn't happen. I've heard a lot of writers say they would either dream about a song or get up in the middle of the night and write. I remember one time purposely putting a keyboard in my bedroom as I thought that might happen with me, but it didn't. So I did most of my writing when I was wide awake.
Okay. So it just comes to you, these tunes out of your head.
Yes. Either inspired by something that you hear from another artist, something you hear on the radio, or some music form. Was the inspiration.
So do you write this down, or it's just all in your head and you know how to formulate it, and when you go and teach it, you just teach it?
Well, it's in your head, then you write it down.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions that someone posed up, some things that you've written came in books and some haven't come in books. Any plans of publishing an anthology or something in the future?
We do have plans, yes.
Okay.
Plans on that, as well as writing the story, which I really want to do at the right time.
Okay.
In the near future. Mm-hmm.
During those years, was it really hard to publish? I know the lexicon back in that time. Well,
I'm sorry to miss that. Was it hard to do what now?
During that time, maybe in the late 70s and the 80s, I know Lexicon, I think it's Lexicon Music during that time. They were publishing little booklets during that time. During that part of that agreement, did they just say, hey, we'll publish some, and once it goes out of print, that's it? Or do you know that they license some of that music out?
Well, yeah, as most artists did back in the day, we would sign like a 50-50 deal, and out of ignorance again, giving half your publishing to a company, and they would own it and have the rights to deal with it. Legally, it may not have been righteously, but legally we gave them half the song. So they actually owned half, and under contract, they had the rights to release that or not release it.
Wow.
A lot has changed, thank God, for the artists today. They don't have to give it away at all. In fact, they can hire a publishing company to publish for them. So it is quite different now, quite different.
Okay. So everything within that particular catalog during that time, they had the right to release it. If not, it just won't happen.
Right, that's correct.
Okay, I guess you answered question 4 on that one, because you're saying, well, why don't have a lot of stuff in print?
Now, I could re-release some things,
okay,
but then 50% of that still has to go back to that company.
Okay. Is that company still in existence, or is this maybe a trust company now?
I think only in name.
Okay. Let's talk about your musical style. Yours is timeless. I know we talked about at the very beginning of the interview about how your influence in creating that style. Can you talk about how your pieces of music is so unique, that is so individual? We know when something is released by Edwin Hawkins, we know that's Edwin Hawkins.
That's quite flattering.
Yeah.
I mean, because you don't think in terms of purposely trying to create something that's going to be timeless, or something that's going to be unique, or something that people can point to and say that is Edwin. Because I tend to think that a lot of gospel music, especially now, sounds so much alike. You know who it is basically when you are familiar with the artist or the performer or the voice. But so much of this music now, there's not a lot of uniqueness. We tend to be very, very trendy.
Wow.
I happened to get a collection of, I think Andre Crouch is called The Journey, his newest project. And what is wonderful about that project is he didn't forsake his style, nor did he try to become trendy in terms of the way that it's produced. is just a wonderful production and wonderful music.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I would consider timeless. When it's not so trendy.
Mm-hmm.
When everybody has all the special effects on the background voices where you can hardly tell what voices are singing or if they are really singing.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of trends will wear and wear fast.
Wow. So why do you think they have this trend that the uniqueness is...
Well, a lot of it has to do with, I guess, the same thing that I did being younger. You want to kind of go with what is happening now. I think is where part of the word contemporary comes from. We want to be contemporary. We want to sound like what music sounds like, the way it's produced. We kind of take our lead from what is being released in secular.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing wrong with that, but that's where the business is. But I think sometimes we go a little bit too far in trying to be too much like what the secular is doing, that it sometimes becomes, what's the word? We conform too much, I think, or too close to what secular has done with music.
Okay.
And we lose the essence of the message of the gospel, more concerned about the musical instruments or the beat,
mm-hmm.
the sound, and we kind of lose the essence of the message. When we talk about anything that's labeled gospel,
mm-hmm.
is talking about Jesus Christ, because he is the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we have to figure out what people are singing about, then I don't think that is not gospel, because it's not clear, because the message of Jesus Christ is always clear.
Wow.
And I did the same thing. So I think we have to allow young people to be who they are, but someone needs to be there to guide them, which is, what we try to do with the Music and Arts Conference. Give them some guidance. There's absolutely nothing wrong with hip-hop and rap, if it is the gospel. If you're going to do it just for the sake of performances, then that is between you and God. I can't condemn that.
Wow. I guess since you just mentioned about the Music and Art Conference, can you talk about the Music and Arts Conference?
Sure.
What's been going on and the mission, and are you having a conference this year?
We're doing for the first time, what is called a summit, and we're going to go in on Sunday afternoon. We'll be there Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. What our attempt is to do is to bring the conference into the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to address the General Congress and allow them to have some input, questions, and conversation on what we deal with, centered around the curriculum that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can ask questions and try to bring everything current, up to date. So we're bringing in artists, of course. We always have Richard Smallwood, Donald Lawrence, and many other artists that will be there to help us do this.
Okay.
Dealing with the artists is more than just music. It's the business of gospel music. Of course, the ministry of gospel music, choir, decorum, vocal technique. We even deal with drama, so we have people that are in that profession that will show us how to go there and what to do with that, because everything is done differently in this technology that we're doing. So that's going to be the approach. And it is only $25 the registration for those 3 days.
Wow. And where is it going to be held this year?
We're going to be in Las Vegas at the Monte Carlo. The dates are June 24th through the 26th.
Okay. Great. We have a caller from area code 281 have a question. So give me a second. I'm going to put them online and ask your question.
All right. Do you hear that beep?
No, we don't hear a beep on our end.
Okay. All right. I hope I'm not going to lose you.
Caller 281, you on the air.
Yes. This is Leela Anderson. Hello, Tim. How are you today?
Hi, Leela. How are you doing? Great.
Fabulous. Well, hello, Mr. Hawkins. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Fabulous. I had a chance to talk with you when you came to Houston for the Music and Arts Seminar that was at the Hotel Softail.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I think that was in 05 or 06.
06. It was 06. Yeah.
But it was a wonderful affair. I heard some beautiful songs. I've always been a fan of your music and delight. And my sister and I played this song, I heard the voice of Jesus say, come unto me and rest. I picked that out by ear.
Wow.
And we had a blast playing that. But my question is, the songs that were done at the musical at Newmont Calvary,
yes.
What happened to that recording? How can we get those?
And that was celebrating 25 years, I think, wasn't it? Something like that. It was a special celebration. But anyway.
Leela, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, his call dropped. I'm sure he's going to call back in. What I'm going to do is going to play one song real quick, and he should be back on the air in a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to play Wonderful, one of his earlier hits.
Okay.
wonderful. He's so wonderful to me. He loosed my shackles and they set me free. Gave me peace and a whole lot of victory.
Wonderful by Edwin Hawkins. Leela is back on the line. Okay, go ahead, Leah.
Yes, I was just checking to see where we can get that recording from that musical.
We plan to release it in the near future.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Now, so how would it be issued in the stores or?
Well, yeah, everything is changing. So, like right now, there are hardly any gospel record stores. There might be one or two, and I think we have one here in the Bay Area. Okay. Other than that, Walmart and Target is carrying some, but in a minute they say you're only going to be able to get stuff online. we'll have to see how it goes.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Larry.
All right.
Thanks for calling.
I guess talk about to the release itself. Today, things are so different than it was 10 years ago.
Right.
Isn't there a particular cause what happened to this entire industry that you don't have any music stores? I mean, the only thing you have a choice of is buying something from Amazon.com or JR Music. Did Napster during that time kind of come in and just took away this particular industry, or was it something, according to your experience, that was going to happen anyway?
Well, I think because of given what's happening with technology, it was going to happen anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, we will always have something with this as we travel and something that we can always mail out to people.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Amazon, of course. iTunes, you can either download a single or the full project. I think what's going to be missing is sometimes people don't get I like to look at the package so I know who's doing what. Mm-hmm. I want to know who produced it. I want to read the credits. You know, that's the color to me. You can still do that, but I think it costs a little bit more. I've never done it, but I hear that it costs a little bit more to get the whole package through the internet. So everything has changed so much, you know, and I'm not that versed to tell you how it's changed, how it's going to happen, and what to look out for.
So going back to really 15 years ago when Napster came on the scene, I know it's been an outcry by musicians across the board. Even my grandfather was a jazz musician and some other that, I mean, this medium of downloading music and sharing and so forth really kind of took the industry, you know, for a turn. They was something that they knew in a sense was coming, but they didn't know the extent of it.
Right.
Has it hurt the industry in a whole? And they trying to recover 10 years later or 12 years later?
Well, it's hurt where some of the smaller companies were bought out by the larger companies, and you have maybe one or two major distributors now or major labels, and they're handling like the big name artists really in secular music, and some of them have smaller divisions for gospel. So that's where it is now. There's just not really any major record companies handling gospel. You still have Word Records. I think Light is distributed through them, but there are very few labels now. You know, it's why so many artists now are doing what they do online. Young people creating their own studios in their own homes. And reducing things like that and putting it out on Amazon and iTunes. And so the industry is just so different now. You know, those of us that were there years ago were having to adjust to all of that, whereas what the young ones are doing now, this is what they know to do because it's their time, it's their generation.
Wow. Yeah, I know they have like CD Baby, a lot of independents. They sell a lot of there, and I guess we just have to watch and see what happens. So maybe it comes around, but it's coming around in a different way. With even iTunes is controlling a large part of the market. Now, I guess we'll just see what happens in the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah. Now, at least the artists are being paid. Now, initially they were having problems collecting. Even through iTunes when it first started, but now they are being paid. They changed the laws where the people have to pay for what they purchase online now. Wow,
and they're suing people across the board, so it's kind of amazing. If we talk about the stress for the particular career, I know, for example, some people say it's stressful to be an artist today, or even in the past it's really stressful. What type of stress is that one can anticipate if you're going to be a gospel artist, you're going to get out there? What type of stress is that the person going to really have to face?
Well, I think probably the major thing is getting your product played on radio in regular rotation, that is. They used to call it payola. And it's probably the same thing with a different name now.
Okay.
Because if you listen to gospel radio, you're going to hear a lot of the same songs over and over again, which is okay. You know, I'm for them playing whoever they play. I listen to a lot of the praise channel, so you hear artists, some names that, you know, I can't put faces with because I haven't met some of the artists, but there's some good artists and wonderful talent.
Wow.
So that is a major thing. You need to have someone that's able to get your music played for you. If your manager can't do it, get another one.
Wow. So, or you just, I know there's a lot of independence when it comes to gospel. I mean, you just have to, if you can't get them to do it, then you just probably have to pick up the phone and sell your stuff and try to get it played. If you can. And, I mean, the way it's set up,
those that are in control, unless you know somebody, it doesn't really work that way. The artist should not have to fend for themselves in terms of airplay.
Okay.
You need people there talking for you and promoting for you. A promotional team is what it really takes.
Okay. And when you talk about promotional team, if they're trying to break into the industry, what advice will you give them? Do they need a publicist? Do they need a manager? How will they operate themselves as...
All of the above.
All the above.
All of the above, yes.
And what should they look for as a publicist and what they should look for in a manager?
Well, managers is most important, and your manager should know who the publicists are, and they should be able to obtain someone for you. You shouldn't have to look for the publicist yourself, but if you have a good manager, they should know that they have to look for a promotional team.
Okay. And what's a promotional team for some people who don't know?
Well, for someone that's going to get you airplay and get you visible, try to get dates for you, help you to get dates, and get interviews such as I'm doing with you right now to get you heard. Oftentimes, the two, they all kind of work together. Because I'm thinking now that you need someone that can put you, when there's an event happening, either you can be the opening act or something like that. You want to be visible. You want to be seen. Bobby Jones has a great platform where he's introducing new artists all the time. Get you on Bobby Jones' show. Get you on the Word Network. Mm-hmm. So your team really needs to know how to do that.
Okay, great. And talking about your music itself, I'm looking through your career all these many years. I can't not say you pick certain people to sing certain things. Is the way when you compose a particular song, you have a person in mind that you want to deliver the song?
Sometimes a person, I would say more than that, would be a kind of voice that you might want to hear on a certain song. A certain voice that within a certain range, whether you want to hear a soprano singing it or you want to hear a tenor lead, if you want to hear an alto lead, a contralto lead, baritone lead. Just depends on the melody of the tune and the kind of song it is. If it's high energy, if it's laid back, if it's mellow, if it's a hymn, if it's a hard gospel, you choose a voice for that. Okay.
And I know you did a project of All the Angels a few years ago, and you had a multicultural group. How did that come up together? Because you did some amazing work with, I wish I had them in my group, some of the people that had all that energy, and you had a few Asian people that led. Did they audition for you? How did that come to be?
They do. In the rehearsals, we have that 1 week of the conference, and we take time to listen to leads.
Okay, and so they just audition for you, and you have in your mind what this should sound like, and if they have that energy, then they break out with it. So I guess a call just dropped again. So I'm going to play this track, part of All the Angels, and for a break, and then we'll come back within about 3 minutes. All the Angels by Edwin Hawkins. Edwin, I guess talk about this particular piece itself, All the Angels, part of your workshop, your music and arts seminar a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's a beautiful song. I mean, it's an amazing song. And that's one of the ones that came through you during the day, and you just composed it, or did it take a little time to come up with this one?
I wouldn't think that any of them take a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when you get a melody, and well, the way I do anyway, I get a melody sometimes, or the concept of a song or a theme of a song.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll work from a title.
Wow.
And maybe when I finish the song, I may have had to change the title, but sometimes just a thought like that, and you create a melody around it. But that tune, all the angels and the melody kind of came together. That lyric and the melody kind of happened together, as does a lot of my stuff.
Yeah, it's a beautiful ballad. You write some amazing ballads. I remember Give Me Peace that you did in Houston, I think in '87. That smooth contrast, and I think it was another one that you wrote, Taste and See, that was pretty similar as well.
That was not written by me. That was written by, what is her name? Oh, God, I should know her name. I know, Gill. Her last name is Patricia Gill.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so this was part of your music and arts seminar that you did?
Yeah. Now for that project, all of those projects, we allow writers to contribute music, and we usually get quite a number of songs, and we try to pick out what we think would be the strongest songs for the week.
Okay. And Give Me Peace, that's written by...
Give Us Peace?
Mm-hmm.
Give Us Peace?
Give Us Peace.
That's the title track, right?
Yeah, it's the title track.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, that is... I didn't write that. Who wrote that song? I don't recall.
Okay.
I don't recall who wrote that.
And question regarding the live performance. I know you did Jesus, I Love You. And I mean, you had like two different takes of it on Jesus, I Love You and this live version of it. How did this particular song come to you? I remember you doing this at the Music and Arts Seminar in '83.
Mm-hmm. Now, that was another old song that I heard as a child, and I just rearranged that one. That's the one that Tremaine sings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I think the live version was hers, I think, maybe, on one of her projects.
Yeah, I think it was several that came out. That was a live version.
Of course, ours was live, too, though, with the seminar. And I forget where that was done.
A few years ago, you were on the Oprah Winfrey Show. She did the Legends Ball, and they ended with Oh Happy Day. Can you tell us about that particular experience? You guys were facilitating the music for the worship session for that, worship service, or?
Well, it turned out to be a worship service. It was we were we were invited to her home as she was honoring the Black female legends of our time, and we did a concert for them in her garden, in her home in Southern California.
Wow.
And it was quite amazing because, I mean, the ladies, as you remember, were all dressed up in their spring hats and outfits, and we actually had church. So it was a great experience.
Wow. I know you have certain musicians that you always use. I see a lot of Richard Smallwood on your projects in particular past, and you always seem like you stay with the same drums and, not the drummer, the bass player and guitar player. So they pretty much, you guys, they have a sound that you want, and you've just been using them for many, many years.
You know, when you get comfortable and you like and you appreciate the talent, you know, it's easier, too, to work with people that know you and you know them, and they understand what you want, and these guys give me what I want. So it has been the same bass, the same drummers. My nephew has been the drummer, Joel Smith, and Jerry Jordan's been on bass. Jonathan DeBose hasn't been with us in a while, who did guitar in many of the projects and with the family as well. Recent years we've used David Blakely a lot on organ, and also Derek Hall. Some great players, wonderful musicians.
Wow. Let's talk about your new restaurant. I was just really surprised that before we went online about your cooking. And can you talk about your new restaurant that you have, and tell us about the style and the food itself and where it's located?
Certainly. Yeah, well, we call it a cafe. A restaurant sounds a little bit too formal. And it's not formal at all, although we do have linen on the tables, but it's not formal at all. I learned to cook just watching both my mom and dad. They were both great cooks. Mom just knew what to do with food, what seasonings to put in what. And so I just grew up watching them cook. And so, but I was not supposed to be the main chef, as it turned out to be. Walter was going to be the main chef. I was going to do like soups and salads and some desserts and sandwiches. But as he decided to go to heaven, you know, I ended up being the main chef. Wow. So we call it soul food with a gourmet flair. And that is because we do some Italian dishes. We also do pancit salmon, tilapia, and of course catfish, but all the soul food, the fried chicken, the collard greens, potato salad, mac and cheese, and we do it all from scratch.
Wow.
I do all my own salad dressings, and one in particular, which we're working on a cookbook now.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that'll be ready or finished by the end of this month. And so you'll be hearing about that.
So where's the restaurant located?
The cafe is in Manteca, California, which is about an hour southeast of Oakland, the Bay Area.
Okay.
In Manteca.
And you have the address?
Yes, the address. Is that what you said?
Yeah, the address.
1800 Yosemite Avenue, West Yosemite in Manteca.
Okay. And the telephone number if they want to call to kind of find where you
I knew you were going to ask me that. I don't remember numbers. It is 209-556. I don't know.
I'll look up.
Yeah, I think I might have it here.
Okay. I'm sure I have it here somewhere. 209-665-4014.
665-4014.
There you go. Okay. Delight Cafe, that's what it's called?
Delight. DELITE.
Okay. You don't have a website yet, do you?
We do.
Okay.
I don't know what that is either.
Yeah, I didn't see it on the press release because I put it on the website so people can kind of look it up. And
actually, I think they're still putting that together. We've been open about a year, and so we're kind of still putting all that together.
Okay. No
but
problem.
we are putting together a website.
Okay. So last couple of questions real quick about your music itself. What do we have forward to look for in Edwin Hawkins? Now you have your own cafe and about your music in the future.
Mm-hmm. Actually, we've come together with the new Edwin Hawkins Singers, and we're working on a project currently.
Wow.
Have done a couple songs in the studio so far, and with everybody's schedule, just trying to figure out when I can go back in the studio. So we're doing, a couple of dates here and there. One of the things we did last October, we haven't done anything since, we were at the Raz Room, which is a jazz supper club in San Francisco, and did about 4 nights there, and that was fun to do. And we'll do that again this fall. And so we're working on some other dates. I'm trying to decide on how I'm going to do that because I am the main chef, so I got to figure out getting somebody else in there to cook when I'm gone. My sister Fetty helps me a lot. So I'm trying to, get all because she wouldn't be able to handle it by herself. So I got to get somebody else in there so that I can do my music again because I love my music. Okay.
Yeah, James sent a couple of tracks over here, Lord of All. If you don't mind, I'll play this real quick and you can talk about that, and then we'll talk about a few other things and wrap it up. If anybody have any questions, feel free to call in at 347-324-3460 and to ask a question. So give me 1 second. Let me play Lord of All from something from the past.
No, that project was released actually in 97.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We did that particularly we were going to Europe quite a bit then, and one of the promoters that we work with asked us if we would do the newer version that is on that project of Oh Happy Day. And so we just did a whole project for that. And, of course, it was released here limitedly, but it was released mainly for that market in Germany.
Okay. I know you have this other track called Love is the Only Way. Was that also on that same album, or there was something more recent?
Yeah, that's the title track.
Oh, for the album?
Yes.
Okay.
That is a ballad.
Okay, great. In closing, if there was a favorite song out of your entire library, what would you say, without using Oh Happy Day, because that's what you're going to be known, what other song I would say, this is Edwin Hawkins from you?
Oh, that's not an easy one.
I can let you think about it for a second, and we can play Love is the Only Way, and we can wrap things up.
And that is one of my favorites lyrically anyway.
Okay. Give me 1 second to play this one, and then we're going to start closing out.
All right.
Okay. Love is the Only Way. At one, this Love is the Only Way. We have a caller from 817. 817, you're on the air.
Yes. Hello, Mr. Hawkins.
Hello.
I'm really honored to talk to you. I'm from Africa, and I wanted to have a couple of questions for you.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm from Africa, and I had a couple of questions for you.
Oh, certainly. Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Africa?
I've been to South Africa once.
Okay. And how do you feel about the fact that the song All Happy Days is sung all over Africa, like it's embraced on the continent?
Oh, I've heard that it was sung everywhere in Africa. It makes me very proud. In fact, when my brother and I, Walter, we visited South Africa. It was a short visit some years ago. I think it was 2003, if I'm not mistaken. And I long to go back. I said to him, even though I did not get a chance to experience other parts of Africa, but want to. It was a sense. I don't know if it was a psychological thing or what, but it just felt like home. Wow. And I told him I didn't want to leave, but of course I had to come back to America. But I never felt more sense of home having traveled so many places around the world as I did in Africa.
Oh, that's great.
And I'm sure it was part because I know that's where we're from, But I love it. What part of Africa are you from?
Thank you. I'm from Congo, Central Africa.
Oh, okay. So hopefully I'll get a chance to visit one day.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess in closing, that question regarding your favorite song or a song that, besides "Oh Happy Day," that speaks to your heart, that is Edwin Hawkins. Is there a particular song that stands out throughout your career?
There's not really one. Now, the ballad that you just played, that was a song that I'd written some years ago for the family, the Hawkins family, and we did a little different version. And I wanted to do more ballad because I thought the message would be more clearly understood in a slow form. But of course, it's not gotten the exposure that I hoped it would. But because it says love is the only way. I wish that we could love each other the way that we're supposed to and not criticize, but lyrically is part of the reason that it's one of my favorite songs.
Wow, it's a powerful message, awesome message. In closing, how would you like to be remembered?
Simply as a human being that loves God.
Wow, that's awesome. But I appreciate you coming on to the program, and I think you really bless our community, bless business listeners. We have a lot of people listening to the program, and I really appreciate your time. And I guess just to recap real quick, your restaurant, the name of it again is?
Delight Cafe.
Okay. And the address and is located?
It is at 1800 East Yosemite Avenue in Manteca, California, and the telephone number is 209-665-4014.
Great.
Come and see us.
Great. I'm going to come out.
Thanks for taking the time.
Great. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Again, this has been another production of Apple Capital Group, our sponsor. Thank you for listening to the Core Business Show. Take care and have a great night.
Thank you for listening to the Core Business Show with Tim Jacquet. For a free quote on equipment leasing and financing, visit our website, applecapitalgroup.com. That's applecapitalgroup.com. And fill out the information to receive your free quote. We hope you'll join us for our next episode. And remember, you can always get to the Core via iTunes. You'll find all our previous episodes there. Thanks again for listening to the Core Business Show with Tim Jacquet.
You wash my sins away.